Good morning. Half a day, the Committee on General Government Operation and Appropriation is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, April 16. The time now is 9 o'clock. In compliance with the open government law, the notice for this public hearing were posted on Guam public notice portal on GTA TV channel 21, Docomo channel 117, and live stream on the Guam Legislature YouTube, and disseminated via email to all senators and all media broadcasting outlets on Monday, March 18. A reminder notice on April 8th and again on April 12th. Again, today is April 16th and time now is 9 o'clock. The agenda today is the budget hearing on specifically with the Guam Community College, which is actually Bill 236-37 COR, Committee on Rules by request of I Magaʹhågan Guåhan, the Governor of Guam, in accordance with the Organic Act of Guam, an act making appropriations for the operation of the executive branch of the Government of Guam for fiscal year ending September 30, 2025, making other appropriations and establishing miscellaneous and administrative provisions. But we'll be talking specifically about the Guam Community College. At this time, I ask the members of the Guam Community College panel to please rise and be placed under oath by the Sergeant at Arms. Dr. Okada and Dr. Guino.
Please raise your right hand. Under penalty of perjury, do you affirm that any and all information provided today, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Mr. Chair, under oath, you may proceed.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms. The general rules for this budget hearing. Please provide my legislative staff with any document for photocopying and distribution. Panel members are asked to remain in the room for question or for additional testimony that may be desired by members of the committee. Question and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the budget hearing. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be restricted from participating and will be escorted and removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. Please state your name and your title for the record. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues that have joined me this morning. I have Senator Chris Duenas, Madam Speaker Terlai, and Senator Sabina Paris. And with that, I'd ask Dr. Okada to please tell us about your budget and where we're heading. Or you're going to have Ms. Guino. Okay, Ms. Guino, just state your name and your position and then continue to speak.
Half a day, good morning, Senators. My name is Rose Guino. I'm the Vice Chair of the Guam Community College Board of Trustees. I'm here in support and provide testimony for the budget request of GCC for FY 2025. And allow me to read the testimony of our chairperson, Mr. Carlo Leon Guerrero. April 16, 2024. Buenas yan, half a day, Chairman San Agustin, members of the Committee of General Government Operations and Appropriations. My name is Carlo Leon Guerrero, and I am the chairman of the Guam Community College Board of Trustees. On behalf of the students, faculty, staff, and my fellow board members, thank you for allowing me to come before you today to lend my support for the Guam Community College FY 2025 funding requests. In the last year's budget hearing, on behalf of my predecessor, I testified before you on the progress made by GCC to fully restore campus activities to pre-COVID services, including the addition of support services to expand remote learning and emotional support for our students and employees. Little did we know just how timely and critical these services would be in the aftermath of Typhoon Mawar. It had been more than 2 decades since the devastation of Super Typhoon Pongsona, and many of our students have never experienced devastation at that level. Even our employees experienced post-typhoon trauma. In the immediate aftermath of the storm, our administrators reached out to the employees, ensuring that those who needed assistance receive it as soon as possible. Once we could assure the safety of our employees, the focus turned to the campus and the need to restore it to operational condition. not only in preparation for the eventual opening for the academic year, but also because GC's mission is community. Our faculty and administrators are nurses, first responders, counselors, and active members of our community at large. Our mission in those early days was to support our island community. Almost immediately, GCC was doing its part. I am proud to say our campus stood up the first disaster recovery center to support FEMA's mission in processing assistance for our island residents. DRC-1 was stood up in less than 48 hours and remained as the last DRC to close. In addition to this, our Allied Health Department supported medical outreach efforts with our student nurses conducting medical wellness checks and medicine outreach efforts. Even our cosmetology cohort joined the effort to help our community. They offered free haircuts across the island as part of the relief efforts organized by Senator Kenara and San Nicolas. This outreach evoked as much a sense of relief and appreciation as any effort I have seen. A nice, fresh haircut in the midst of all discomfort put a smile on many faces. Relief comes in many forms, and the amazing team at GCC was ready to do what we could to help our community. And the business sides of things, the GCC summer session started after a 1-month delay to make repairs and adjustment on campus to ensure the safety and comfort of our students. I am proud of our team for moving mountains to reopen, even while trying to put their own homes back in order. Looking ahead to the new year, our team is focused on 2 major areas: increasing enrollment, which understandably dipped post-Mauer, and expanding our workforce development training programs at the request of our local business community and our local partners. The recovery of our visitor industry, the looming demand to support Camp Blast operations, and the continued discussions with the U.S. Navy to provide training to more ship repairs workers all point to the need for increased boot camps. GCC is ready to break ground in our Workforce Development Center in Barrigada to support the ship repair and construction programs. Our new multipurpose auditorium is now open and has become the center for campus and program activities. Renovations are ongoing in the new GCC Culinary Arts and Baking Center to expand both programs. And the GCC Wellness Center is in the final phase of securing the funding needed. The expansion of the Student Support Center, also known as Building B, is also nearing completion. This project is especially exciting as it centralizes most of the services supporting student registrations and provides a readily accessible study area and computer lab at the very front of the campus. Making services accessible to our students is a high priority. And finally, GCC is focusing on its reaffirmation of reaccreditation during FY25. We are among a handful of colleges that are being evaluated using the new accreditation standards. I am very proud of our institution and our team. They have been the example of excellence and continue to innovate to ensure our students have the best opportunity to excel at the college and their careers. I am confident that GCC will be reaccredited. The budget request for FY 2025 is for $22,789,566. The budget will support the programs above, our accreditation efforts, and allow us to continue innovating and collaborating with our community partners to strengthen Guam's workforce. I thank you for the opportunity to appear before the committee this morning and testify in favor for the FY 2025 budget request for Guam Community College. Sincerely, signed, Carlo M. Leon Guerrero, Chairman, Guam Community College Board of Trustees. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also recognize my colleague that's joined us, Senator Tom Fisher. Dr. Okada, You're up. Yeah.
Buenas and half a day, Manana Sidu, Senator San Agustin, and members of the 37th Guam Legislature, Speaker Terlahi, Senator Sabina Perez, Senator Fisher, Senator Chris Dueñas. Thank you for your presence this morning. My name is Mary Okada, President of the Guam Community College. This morning, I come before you to advocate for the Guam Community College fiscal year 2025 budget request. As a leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality student-centered education and job training for Micronesia, it is our responsibility to provide support for every individual looking to participate in either a secondary program at the high schools or post-secondary programs with the college. Today, the college presents its rollover budget request of $22,789,566. This funding mirrors the appropriation for fiscal year 2024. One might ask, how are we able to do this? I would offer that this request comes with a commitment to accountability, fiscal discipline, innovation, and institutional transformation. For the past several years, the college has seen a decline in student enrollment. I would have to say that the decrease in enrollment has caused us to tighten our belts, all while focusing our efforts to seek alternative ways to encourage individuals to avail of the many opportunities of post-secondary education and training. I find it quite difficult to ask for this august body to provide more funding while enrollment decreases. However, when the need arises, the college is positioned to surge when necessary. I submit to you that this is our commitment to accountability. As the leader for this fine institution for over 16 years, our strength has been focused on fiscal discipline. The college continues to offer training to employees on processes that allow us to increase efficiency while ensuring that we have the tools needed to perform our functions. Every year, we provide training opportunities in budget development, procurement, assessment, and other mandatory requirements for insurance purposes. As a result, departments monitor the respective budgets and actively engage in its development for the subsequent year. I would like to point out that our process of assessment drives the requirement for increases in funding. Many of you have seen the efforts of our innovative ideas, most especially the variety of boot camps that have been developed to provide training for individuals while identifying employers looking to hire skilled and trained workers to support their industry. I recall using the phrase, boot camps on steroids, to describe our response to the many requests from employers who subsequently worked with the college to create a variety of programs and opportunities. Since then, the request continues to flow to the college. More recently, the need for environmental technicians, furniture installers, additional ship repair workers, cybersecurity professionals, plumbers, paraeducators, and many more continue to surface. The college is working through all of these requests to support the various industries. For almost a decade, the college has been transforming into not just a beautiful and modern campus that currently exists, but a space where the culture of teaching and learning takes place. I'd like to spend a few moments talking about the capital of projects at the college. First, I'm extremely proud to say that we have 13 structures with integrated grid-tied photovoltaic systems. We have another building with the system being installed now. This effort supports the sustainability of our campus. We are definitely doing our part to support our environment. I am appreciative to my team for identifying this initiative and making this happen. Next month, we will break ground for the Workforce Development Center. Although it was a long process to get where we are today, we finally cracked the nut, and now the project is moving forward. Our Building B, Student Success Center, is moving forward and stands at approximately 67% construction complete. We are counting on moving in later this year. And just when you thought the college would stand down and take a break on its endeavors to renovate the campus, we have yet a few more projects in our midst. In addition, the college will soon launch the upgrade to its nursing program from an associate's degree in licensed practical nursing to an associate's degree in nursing. We are also finalizing the design of the early college initiative that many are interested in learning about. More of those details will be presented later this year. The college is in its final stages of the institutional self-evaluation report that will be submitted to our accrediting agency before August 31st of this year. This process engaged all employees of the college as they work to demonstrate how the college meets or exceeds accreditation standards. We look forward to a successful accreditation visit in March 2025. We are grateful for the consistent release of allotments based on the appropriation schedules for fiscal year 2024. The college will continue to uphold its fiscal discipline and accountability and will be great stewards of the people's money. This morning, I closed my testimony supporting the community college's fiscal year 2025 budget request of $22,789,566. This budget supports the mission of our college, all while demonstrating our commitment to this community. Of course, it goes without saying that the college stands ready to explore other opportunities with additional funding levels that you deem necessary to support our community. Opportunities for partnerships are permeating throughout our islands. Just imagine what more can be done to expand areas in health occupations, perhaps mechanical engineering, or maybe even a prison education program. I'd like to take this time to thank each and every employee of the Guam Community College for their support of our students. I have the best team, and you too should be proud of all the faculty, staff, and administrators who work tirelessly to fulfill the mission of our college. With the continued support for the GCC Board of Trustees and Foundation Board of Governors, the college will continue to be the shining star in our island, focusing on students first, mission always. Sejus Maasi for your continued support of our students and our mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Okada. Dr. Okada, I'm looking at basically a status quo budget is what you're asking for.
That's
pretty
correct.
much. Okay. I'd like to also recognize my colleagues joined us, Senator Dwayne Nicholas. We'll begin with the questions with Speaker Terlai and then followed by Senator Duenas. Ma'am.
Sejus Maasi, Mr. Chair, and President Okada and Vice Chairman Greeno, Sejus Maasi for your testimony today, and of course your example. You always lead us off on these budget hearings, and I think you're a great example for all the other agencies. Very thorough presentation and honest, and I appreciate that very much about your enrollment and this rollover budget request. The only question I had was, there seems to be a difference between the amount that will be allocated to the GCC Apprenticeship Program Manpower Development Fund, and I'm looking at the spreadsheet that the OFB did, that it will decrease by 1.4 million versus, I think last year, or the governor's request, where that money will now go towards operations instead? Is that what's going on? We're going to move some money from manpower development apprenticeship programs to operations, 1.5 million?
Yes, so over the years, every time the legislature increases our appropriations in the Manpower Development Fund, it decreases our general fund appropriation. So in order for us to carry forward with a rollover budget, that adjustment was necessary. The law allows for the GCC, based on the approval of the Board of Trustees, to authorize the use of the Manpower Development Fund for its operations. And over the years, the past several years, that has been the case. When the legislature increases the MDF, general fund is usually reduced.
All right, and will that decrease any of the apprenticeship programs that you currently have slated? Will we be seeing any new apprenticeship programs this year?
So we are still working with a lot of employers. We do, as I mentioned, With the development or the construction of the Workforce Development Center, we have seen a tremendous increase in ship repair requests, not only for Cabras Marine, but also for Guam Shipyard and now Pearl Harbor. And so that new facility will give us, of course, updated facilities to focus on ship repair and all of the construction-related programs that go with it. And so with that, the goal is always to increase the number of apprentices when we offer all of the boot camps too. So that goes hand in hand, and we don't see that there will be a decrease in apprenticeship. And remember that the MDF is given to the college based on a percentage. And so if the amount collected goes up, the college usually receives that additional amount.
All right. And you've been receiving the amounts from last year as we projected?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there there's no need for the WICHE Scholarship Office funding this year?
It's embedded in our total of $22,789,566. So we rolled it in there instead of identifying it as a separate amount.
Right.
That amount that was identified was for the administrative component. And so that amount can't remain stagnant because the employee is eligible for the benefits. And so we just rolled it into the total budget.
Okay.
So as long as the total budget remains the same, WICHE scholarship is included.
All right. And are we doing the land surveying as an apprenticeship program, or is that a courses that you offer, if I could ask?
I would say both. Many years ago, Department of Land Management participated in the apprenticeship program, and many of those employees were upskilled based on that apprenticeship program. And so that continues to be a program that we can continue to support with local businesses that do land surveying.
All right. There was an increase in some of the detail regarding, it says, under operations, miscellaneous went, sorry, that was a decrease. There was a 500,000 increase, I thought. Let me just find that, where that is. It's just benefits, $500,000 in benefits.
So the benefits is based on the budget guidelines that were given to us. So it reflects the percentage. Currently, it's at 29.43% for the retirement benefit, and the increase is at 30%.
Well, I appreciate that you're able...
32.35, and those were based on the budget guidelines that we were given.
Okay, so the retirement contributions are going to be higher for the agencies, and you've been able to accommodate that in shifting your budget around.
That's correct.
I appreciate that very much, President Okada. Sizus Masi. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Senator Duenas.
Sizus Masi, Mr. Chairman, and President Okada, Vice Chair Greeno, thank you for being here. And I joined the Speaker in really just enjoying the kickoff of budget season with GCC coming before us. And once again, Mary, you and thank you for recognizing your team. I want to say I know each and every one of us up here is completely proud of your team, and look forward to the great things you're going to do going forward and the exemplary work that you've done. I really only have two questions. The first one was, Mary, I know that when you're talking about the reduction in enrollment, I know that we talked about this coming out of COVID, your outreach perhaps to the high schools, and I know it's kind of embedded here in terms of the early GCC experience, I guess, and I know you have programs within the high schools. I'm just wondering, and also kind of dovetailing also off, I'm sure you share in this, I've been amazed. I've been visiting all of the charter schools, and they just seem to be performing at a very high level, and the students just really, I think those are some of your up-and-comers, really, both you and the university. The performance levels just seem to be really on top of things, and parent involvement is really very well documented as well. But I wanted to see if you've been able to do some additional efforts with Department of Education, and particularly on the learning loss that we talked about during COVID, and also just how your programs are going too in terms of preparing the students that come in that might not be ready to exactly go into credit courses that you're providing?
So currently, the community college has about 49 faculty that work for the 6 public high schools, and we offer 13 programs, different programs, and it really is dependent upon the space that's available at GDOE and our ability to identify faculty to teach in the GDOE setting. We do have a separate enrollment with GDOE. It did dip during COVID. We're averaging about 2,600 students in the secondary programs. One of the projects that we did to help with the learning loss really was to launch this literacy navigation program. This initially was supposed to launch in conjunction with Department of Education, but the college took a different turn and worked during the summer last year with the Guam Public Libraries, and that literacy navigation program continues today. So where we had federal funds at one point to support that, it's now been localized, and we've continued to support those programs. So basically it's providing reading materials, books, a lot of books to students so that they can engage. We have literacy navigators and we have tutors that help support the students in different, and there's a lot of outreach that is done with that program. So that's what we're doing in terms of learning loss with GDOE, because in the end, those students that want to avail of post-secondary education, we want to make sure that we start them off on the right foot and providing with the support needed for them to be successful on the post-secondary level.
Excellent. And in my meeting with you, and thank you once again for taking the time at my request, it was a great meeting. We talked a little bit about the issue of enrollment, maybe related to individuals needing to possibly go straight to the workforce and their needs. Do you see that as one of the main drivers here, and also the robust availability of jobs?
Yes, so typically what happens is when jobs are available, our enrollment will decrease because they're out working. When jobs are not available, they're looking for something to do, and they come to the college, to look for opportunities. With the increase in the cost of living here, people are working 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs, and that makes it very difficult for them to add an additional, to take advantage of post-secondary education. And there have been some requests for the college to move some of the programs out into the villages. We do recognize the success of that for adult education, and so there may be opportunities for us to further expand that for other courses as well.
Yeah, Mary, that's been my experience as well. Particularly, I'm one of these early morning shoppers, and when I go to my favorite stores, I oftentimes ask the morning shift, do you like this shift? And most of them say, yeah, because after this, I'm heading off to my second job. It's a tough economy out there, but we got a lot of people that are trying their best. My final question is, I've been talking to several I would say mid to higher level officers on a one-to-one basis in the Guam Police Department about our issues that we continue to have with regard to one of the things that the Chief of Police as well as Department of Administration is stating is that many of the applicants are having a difficult time passing the entrance level test, to move on to get all the other qualifications to become a police officer. One of the things these officers have been saying to me is, really, GCC, either the Balea program or the criminal justice program, essentially has that opportunity to be the best feeder for these officers who may be wanting to go from those programs into the police department. The secondary part of that, which GCC used to do really, was, when it was more of a VOTEC, was of course, the physical aspects and everything else on the final for becoming an officer. Do you see an opportunity to basically maybe take over that process? Because I think something's convoluted between the Department of Administration and this process. I mean, it almost seems like we should teach to the test if we can, because most of these individuals otherwise, would be capable. Even if, first of all, those coming out of criminal justice and those coming out of Balea should basically be already signed off on, ready to go. But I'm wondering if you can establish a course that would be, a 6-week course or the like, basically teaching the basic entry level for those who are not attending GCC and are not in those programs, who should be able to automatically articulate, and kind of get through this barrier, because it just seems kind of weird that we have this situation where Department of Administration is having these guys sit the test, and a lot of them want to be officers and otherwise are qualified, but for some reason they're having a tough time navigating this test. You think it's something you could get involved in?
So I would offer that maybe we need to look at how we recruit employees into those organizations. For example, we used to offer and require the placement test for every student entering GCC. Well, that's not the case anymore. A test doesn't determine if you're going to be successful. So we looked at alternatives. And so the alternatives that are currently available for Guam Community College students is, if you did well in high school in English and math, we can place you into college math and English. And we monitor you. And we provide you, we take the results, we monitor to see how successful you're going to be. That's one. The second thing is we're currently offering work keys in the high schools. And work keys now is a determining factor in career readiness and your ability to locate information, your ability to write, respond. So those are now alternatives to the placement test. So maybe we need to look at, is that test really necessary? Could there be something else in lieu of that test? I don't know what the test looks like, but I think if that's the barrier, then you address what alternatives can be given so that people that want to come into law enforcement can actually be given the opportunity and demonstrate that they can perform. Why cut them off on the front end? Why not give them the opportunity? And if they're not quite there, then you provide the support to them, because people aren't lining up all over the place looking for these jobs. They come in, they get trained, they find a better job, and they leave. That's not what we want. We want to build the workforce. We want to build it with those who are interested in applying. Maybe give them a chance in identifying an alternative. So maybe that's a conversation we need to have with, what is the purpose of that test, and when did they last update it? Is it really necessary? Like I said, I don't know what the test looks like, but even in post-secondary education, when we saw the barrier for students coming in and sitting in developmental English and math classes, we wanted to provide another opportunity, and we did, and we currently still do.
I really appreciate that, and I think you're spot on. So I'll be expecting a letter from myself, and I'll work with our chairman, Senator Barnett, in order to be able to send a letter to you and see if we can convene a meeting with Department of Administration and sort this out. Like I said, we're really, really short of cops. You know that. Everybody knows that. And we need to do everything that we can to get folks in the system. And I think we just need to slay this dragon and get through this barrier. And if it is some sort of a 6-week course or something like that that can be set up by GCC, to at least provide for an evaluation of the fitness that the test was based on, or you might be right. It may just be not something necessary. But I encourage also that we continue to dialogue, that the criminal justice majors and others, also kind of get that pipeline thought process too. Of course, Balea is already there set up for that purpose, but kind of trying to highly encourage, because those individuals too, they're very educated on the law. They make great officers. I know that we're working on increasing benefits package. I know the governor's talked about it. I know our chairman's talking about it as well. So it's all hands on deck, situation. So I just appreciate your attitude and wanting to be a part of this solution, because I think it's just very critical. Mary, keep up the great work. I appreciate it. You certainly have, I don't know who couldn't support a status quo budget. That's a very, very, a good presentation and very cognitive of the environment. But you are right too. I stand ready to join with my colleagues should, like you said, some other opportunities come to the forefront, whereby you need that additional revenue to stand up whatever programs going forward. But for now, I appreciate your submission, and Ms. Greeno as well. Please give our regards to the team and the chairman. That at least from my perspective, I'm in full support of your budget. So just Masi, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Drainage. I'd like to also recognize my colleagues that have joined us, Senator Tello Tadigui and Senator Joanne Brown. Senator Parrish, do you have any comments or questions for the panel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to President Okada and Vice Chair Greeno. Thank you for your presentation today. Today is no different from the previous budget presentation that you've had. I'm very impressed by your fiscal responsiveness to ensuring that you keep the cost in check. And not only that, you're able to expand our economy with all the diversification and efforts that you're doing. So congratulations for you on that. And I've always found you to be a very engaging partner in talking about diversification. One of the projects that I've been working with you, and I hope to continue to work with you, is the expansion of more offerings at the high school level. And considering that the Manpower Development Fund is projected to, I guess, increase the amount of money that's coming in, that's my understanding. What is your understanding with the Manpower Development Fund as far as what's projected to come in this year versus last year?
Yeah, my understanding is that the funding coming in is going to increase. And as I said, as the funding increases based on the percentage that we receive, there's a tendency to reduce the general fund side, which is fine. I mean, because that balances, that usually balances out, which provides the release of the general fund money provides opportunities for other government agencies to access that because it's not appropriated for GCC. But with the expansion of the programs, there are several pilot programs that we start in the high schools, usually during the summer. There is one project this summer that we're going to launch, and again, it's based on ship repair and the need to support not just Cabras Marine, but Pearl Harbor Shipyard and also Guam Shipyard. And so there is a pilot ship repair course that will be taught to high school students this summer. That will be a pilot. And depending on whether or not there's enough traction and ability for us to stand something up in the high school, that's usually where we test it out to see where their interests might be.
I understand there's probably like a need, I forget what the numbers were, but it's in the thousands, right? Thousands of potential job offerings.
That's correct.
And these are jobs that pay living wages, from what I understand.
Absolutely, and it covers not just welding, but plumbing. They learn, of course, how to repair the ships, but it's all in the construction trades areas, painter blasting, so all of those particular areas.
Yeah, and so that leads to, I guess, my initiative to try to bring it into the high school level, right? To see if we can create more pre-apprenticeship programs within the high school level to segue into these apprenticeships.
And so, ma'am, there's one initiative that we're exploring. Instead of having a faculty member in a secondary schedule, perhaps like we do dual enrollment for math and English at the post-secondary level, is offering it in the 45 contact hours or 60 contact hours instead of the whole semester or the academic year. So there is a way for us to allow for dual credit at a post-secondary level that can reverse transfer to fulfill the requirements for secondary, but have it a shorter period and a more focused time for students instead of a whole academic year. So if you are a high school student and you take post-secondary classes that are college credit, then you can earn the college credit that can also serve as your requirement for your elective in the secondary environment. So we're looking at different ways because it's hard to attract individuals or faculty to teach at the secondary level because it's 180 instructional days, when on the post-secondary level it doesn't require that much time to deliver the same student learning outcomes. So we're looking at different models, which is where the early college initiative comes in.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've always found you to be a source of innovation, especially in response to the needs of the community. The other thing that I like also, thank you for is when we were talking about developing the state plan for WIOA, I do appreciate GCC's efforts to include literacy in the adult high school program. So the idea is that, the children of the parents that are going to adult high school, they also get the training for literacy. And so it's also, I guess, it's a multiple, initiative there. So, if you can talk about that, or I just thank you for
it's always beneficial for students to learn when they're, when their parents at home also can learn. And so parents that don't have a high school diploma or a GED, we offer those courses through the adult education program, which is federally funded. The literacy program, as you know, if we encourage parents to read and they can read to their children, it helps develop both the parent and the child. And so to the extent that the college can continue to offer the literacy service to support students through the, the public libraries and outreach programs, we will continue to do so.
Yeah, thank you. And I believe that's the successful model. When you read to your kids, it really encourages boost in literacy, and which eventually will have cascading effects, I hope, when they actually enter the public high school, for instance. They'll be ready for school, because we're experiencing, it's been coined a 30 million word gap for households that are literate poor, so they have less access to reading materials, and so they're already behind once they enter school. So thank you for that initiative. The one thing I wanted to ask, though, is utility costs. So I see that you've been able to save. That's really great. The cost that you've budgeted is decreased. But the other thing is, with this budget, are you confident that if there's any increase in utilities, that you're able to pay for that?
We still have solar systems being installed, and when this budget was prepared, we had not turned on the system for 2 buildings. We currently have another building that is in installation right now, and there's a few more initiatives to increase solar power for the campus. So if the increase in utility costs go up, then I think the college would be able to continue to absorb that, because we're producing energy, or we're producing power for the campus.
Okay, thank you for all those responses, and congratulations on a very fiscally sound budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Perez. Senator Dueñas, Senator Nicholas, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam President, for your wonderful testimony. Every chance I get, if I can comment on schools, schools to me are like churches and synagogues. They're very sanctified places. You've done such a wonderful job, with GCC over the years. It's so transformational. Not only the buildings and the campus itself, but also transformational for countless hundreds, perhaps thousands of lives. And I'd like to commend you on that, and you have my unwavering support.
Thank you.
GCC has been there for me, throughout my time, also as a school counselor with Work Keys, and it's just wonderful how concise Work Keys works for our students, and I laud the GCC for that. I was stuck at UOG in math purgatory in MA 185, and UOG was there for me. I was able to take the alternative, and that event had set off a chain of events that allowed me to have my successes, and that's probably why I'm here too. So I thank GCC. Very, very, very wonderful thing that you're doing up there. It shows really just what happens when you have good stewardship, good leadership. There's one thing that concerned me and has been brought to my attention, and it's with the praxis and with teacher certification. I know that Senator Dueñas had mentioned about law enforcement certification, but what I wanted to do is try to find an alternative to the praxis to certify teachers, and maybe GCC could also be instrumental in perhaps designing a program where teachers or people who have graduated with teaching degrees and might find the praxis a little bit kind of difficult or maybe too costly, to find another means of certification. Maybe if GCC can offer that, or maybe we have to modify the law to allow that. The praxis is important, I understand, because you can carry your certification across the states, and certification in that manner can allow teachers to move their certification. So if they got their certification here, they can also teach in California, maybe Utah, or anywhere. And so I understand the importance, but it could be a little bit costly for teachers, because once you if they fail a praxis, they have to take it over again. It can be costly, and sometimes it's demoralizing. So maybe we can work together with on that, or maybe with the chairman of education. That's one of the concerns that I want to address. And but other than that, you're doing a wonderful job, and you have my unwavering, undying support. You can present any budget to me. It's spend billions of dollars at GCC, and I'll be there to support you.
Thank you.
Maybe not $1 billion. Yeah, make my Republicans friends freak out a little bit, but you do have my unwavering support, and I want to thank you for all the wonderful job that you're doing up there and your team as well. Thank you, Madam. I have nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Sidus Masi.
Thank you, Senator Snickers. I'd like those who recognize colleague Senator Frank Bluss joined us. Senator Fisher, you have any questions or comments for the panel?
I do. Thank you very much. Good morning. Is it President?
Yes.
President Okada, and is it Vice President? Okay.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair. Well, good morning, and thank you for being here, and thank you for offering this proposed budget. I mean, generally speaking, when it comes to government finances, you want to, guard the money as carefully as you possibly can. It belongs to the taxpayers, but we're also obligated to spend it, and I like spending money for education. I think it's a wonderful thing. It's an investment. It's better than any capital improvement project. I like spending money for education. I don't have a problem with it. Having begun my questioning by saying that, are you under requesting? And I guess I'll put that to you, President Okada. Is there something on your wish list that you left off because of a perceived need to be fiscally conservative?
No, sir.
No,
I
sir.
think, yeah, so the college has been very aggressive, not only in, well, one thing for sure, that we haven't increased our tuition since 2011.
Okay.
So that's something we've been able to hold on to for a long time.
To the detriment of the school, though?
No.
Okay.
And as Pell Grant continues to increase, students have been able to avail of the additional federal funding. Several things have happened over the past many years. We, in the past year, a couple of years, received an influx of federal funds, significant influx of federal funds. We upgraded technology, we upgraded facilities, we upgraded processes, we bought new equipment. In this budget, you'll see that we're starting to phase in the replacement of some of the computers that are necessary for the staff, because it has a life of about 5 years or so. But the college, based on the initiatives, based on our assessment, so we drive the increases based on assessment. We do organizational assessment every year, and based on the results of the assessments, the departments identify where their need for increase is. And they can project it for this year or project it for the next several years. So that's why I say in this year, we're looking at phasing in the replacement of the computers because they'll now become obsolete. But instead of trying to do it all at one time, we want to phase it in to make sure. As we increase our processes, I mean, COVID taught us to do things electronically, so we changed the way we did business. And things move electronically now for requisitions. And so we're not printing pages and pages of documentation to support a purchase order. It's all done electronically through our system. We've been upgrading our IT, for example. Currently, through the support funding from the Board of Trustees, we've been able to buy some updated software. Currently, the college is in what we call managed cloud services. Managed cloud services will no longer be supported at some point, but we're looking to move into perhaps a SaaS model, SaaS model, that helps us. Additionally, what it will do is not remove jobs from people, but remove certain tasks. So those individuals can then be trained to do other things. And with the update and the implementation of many of our processes, it's actually given us opportunity for folks to do different things.
I have, you mentioned the fact that you're post-COVID, you're streamlining, you're moving online, I suppose, would be the terminology for it, as opposed to paper-driven. Are any of your students, what does your student body look like demographically? Young, old, male, female, rich, poor?
So out of the fiscal year 2023, 20 and under is about 659 students out of 1,500 students. 21 to 25 is 433 students. So for the most part, it's the younger group. We do have about 400 over the age of 25.
Okay. What's their economic profile?
So that part I don't know, but I don't know what their individual, but we do have a large population of students that are Pell eligible. So I would say about maybe about 75% of our students are Pell eligible.
Is that means driven to get a Pell grant?
It's financial.
Okay.
It's based on their income that their family has to support their education.
Okay, this is kind of a meandering way actually to get to the real question, which is this. As you move online, are there students who are not able to follow you online because they don't have a laptop at home or whatever?
So during COVID, we were able to purchase over 200 computers for students to use, and it was federally funded. So students that need the technology, there's different ways for them to access it through the open computer labs that we have on campus, and that provides them with printing capability in the labs, or they're able to check out a laptop from the bookstore.
Okay, can they? Well, that's great. Could you check it out for the semester, or is it just?
They can check out for the semester. They can use it during the summer as long as they're continuously enrolled.
So, for every student, is there a realistic possibility of getting online to accomplish what needs to be done to graduate from GCC? I don't want poor kids left behind because they don't have a laptop.
So we do a survey. We do a survey before every semester, and that survey identifies whether students are able to take courses online or if they continue to require it face-to-face. Students that want the courses face-to-face, the online courses actually supplement what we offer face-to-face. So it's not the only mode of learning that they can avail of. So if we have an MA 085, for example, that we want to take online, we'll have a MA 085 face-to-face. The only completely 100% online program is the International Hotel Management, and it was built that way, to be an online program.
By the way, real quick question. Do you have an endowment?
We do.
How much is in it?
The endowment right now is probably at 18 million.
17, 18 million?
Mm-hmm.
And I assume you're investing that through somebody?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you getting a good return on investment?
Absolutely.
What are you getting?
Oh, I don't know what it is right offhand, but we're doing really well in our endowment.
Like 5, 6%?
Oh no, more than that. I'd say more than 10, maybe,
Yeah, can I invest with you?
We're doing really well with our endowment.
Yeah, okay.
We monitor it. The Finance Committee of the Foundation Board of Governors has quarterly meetings based on the reports that we get. The foundation supports every capital improvement project for the campus. Okay. And they currently are they were the borrower for the USDA loan that built the GCC classrooms and the GPD forensic lab. Okay. So they borrowed the $5 million for that project, and they are currently seeking to borrow the money to build our wellness center. Okay.
All right, thank you for that answer. One thing that really stuck out to me in GCC's presentation was you stated enrollment was dropping, which is a leading indicator of a disaster. Why? Do you have any idea why enrollment is dropping?
Jobs are available.
On island?
On island.
Okay.
And when jobs are available, people go to work.
Yeah. Okay. I love education, but I also like the fact that people are going to work But, you know, with the median home price is still $400,000, but, you know, that's, okay. Where do you see Guam Community College 10 years from now?
Good grief. Let's see. 10 years from now, I can see the Guam Community College continuing to advance and provide programs to support health occupations here on island. We're starting to work through that. It would be wonderful if we can have x-ray techs, lab technicians, pharmacy technicians. Those are things we're looking at. As I mentioned in my testimony, we've had more and more discussion with perhaps building a 2-year mechanical engineering program. That's something that we're looking at. So I would see the community college not only offering or continuing to offer post-secondary education, but providing an opportunity for high school students to earn a college degree while they're in high school. Because then what that does is if you give them a taste of what a 2-year degree can do for them in terms of employment right when they graduate from high school, then there's not, you know, you don't have to have a second thought about it. Right now, there's no requirement for people to go into post-secondary education. It's a choice. And the choice they have to make, and when they balance that between going to work, supporting their family, or going to school, sometimes that becomes very difficult to juggle. However, when students are employed, the avenue for us, or the pathway for us to identify them, to upskill them, is really through the apprenticeship program, which we have been doing over the past several years. So if we continue to grow the apprenticeship program, that provides those that choose to go to work to also simultaneously come to school to get additional training and support for advanced careers.
I guess following on to that, the question about where do you see GCC in 10 years, you may have heard that this body is trying to figure out where we think a new hospital should be built. That has been a point of some contention in this body on island. So my question is this, have you been, GCC, I'm sure you're coordinating with the executive branch, the governor's office, on what it is you do. My question is this, do you see GCC developing a partnership with our new hospital I mean, you mentioned x-ray techs. These are good professional jobs, nursing, et cetera. Perhaps, maybe 20 years from now, a medical college. You know, there can be a synthesis, I think, between an institution like GCC and our new hospital. Have those sorts of discussions or anything like that been going on?
Absolutely. As a result of the Typhoon Mawar, a collaborative for healthcare was established by the governor, and representatives from many of the government agencies, to include higher ed, have met several times to discuss how do we move and expand the workforce for health occupations. This collaborative didn't only include Government of Guam agencies, but also engage the military as well. We now have MOUs that we're working on with Naval Hospital, GRMC, GMH, so that we can have areas for clinicals for our students. And so that conversation, as a result of Typhoon Mawar, has launched. And we've been tracking all the different things that we've been doing. And, you know, expanding health occupations here on Guam, it really is to our benefit for us to grow the people that are interested and continue to live here. With that medical complex, we would be able to offer, or regardless of where it is, but entering into collaborative agreements with all of Government of Guam and the military and private sector helps to boost our, you know, the care that is provided to our constituents. And I said, so regardless of where it is and how it's developed, it's a win. It's going to be a winning formula for us because we're all coming to the table.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. For purposes of this discussion, it's irrelevant where we put it, just so long as we put it. And that GCC grows with the new hospital. I think that would be a tragedy if we didn't take advantage of this opportunity. So I congratulate you for being on top of that, certainly. I'm I'm going to end up here. You know, education, again, this is what when I first asked you that question, or began, education is, you know, without education we won't exist as an island. It is the most important fertilizer that we have as a community. So please don't be afraid to ask for money, because we can say no.
I'm not afraid.
Good, good. So add a zero here and there, all right? Let's make sure the kids get educated and have every single opportunity in the world to grow and flourish here on Guam, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Fisher. We'll just stick with the status quo. Senator Tello, you have any questions for the panel or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to my colleagues. I do apologize for being late, but I was listening on the way over here, your full testimony. And I've never known you to be afraid of anything. I mean, it's a true testament of the 16 years at GCC that you have been and what you've accomplished at GCC. It doesn't take a shy woman, you know, to create something as amazing that you've done in this last 16 years with GCC and all the programs that you put together. So I commend you for, you know, sticking it out. I know, Mary, there are times you probably think of wanting to retire. I don't think quite yet, you know, for retirement. There's still a lot of projects I'm sure you want to get on the road. And as well as, you know, I've always said that all this institutional knowledge that you have gained all these years, you've been there, the next generation is going to come up and we're going to need to start training the next generation to take over. And hope to God that they at least stay at your level and keep that progress growing, if not better. But you have given this island a great example of what an agency should run like, and the growth and just the accountability, transparency that you bring forth is commendable. And I want to thank you so much personally. I've known you for years and greatly admired what you've done.
Thank you.
The budget that you put together, staying status quo, I did look at the numbers, and I do appreciate, as the Vice Chair of Appropriations, that you did reach out to me early on to ask, you know, to meet with me on your budget. But knowing that there was nothing you were asking, I didn't feel alarmed about it. But there is an alarming concern on the enrollment. I was hoping we can get some statistics to show exactly if it's jobs that are open for your students to go after. Is it an exodus? If we're seeing the population on our island actually, you know, go down, decline, we're seeing a decline in that. And then the other question is, if there is a decline in enrollment, then the instructors that you have hired, then there should be actually a decline in the instructors too. Are you letting some of these instructors go? Are you keeping them on a certain retainer, or the classrooms are less crowded? So can you really elaborate more so I can understand what really is going on with our enrollment, and how are you adjusting to this and incorporating, of course, the latest technology in providing, you know, schooling for those who can, you know, many women multitask. We can be working at home and taking care of children and being able to go to school at the same time online, which we're seeing a lot of things go online. Thank you.
So enrollment was one of the things that I knew you were going to ask me about. So I kind of pulled out our fact book. And we do have a fact book that we publish every year. It's available on our website. And this is already volume 18 that we have. And it shows the enrollment trends. It shows where, what the age groups are of students that attend the college. It talks about graduation rates. It tells how many employees we have, et cetera. And all the different programs. And so I did a calculation on the decline in enrollment, and in this latest fact book, it talks about 2018 and identifies fall, spring, all the way up to 2023. So the information is available here. I would say since 2018, the fall semester has seen a drop of about 26%.
Wow. Wow, that's huge. Okay.
And in spring of 2018, and that took us from 2,078 students down to 1,533 students from 2018 to fall 2023. Okay. In spring 2018, we had 1,878 students, and in 2023, we have 1,560, which is about a 17% drop for spring semester. Spring semester has always been lower enrollment regardless. Fall semester is usually when they ramp up, they come out of college, they register for courses. In terms of your question regarding the number of faculty, no, we've not laid anyone off. There's a process to do that. It's called program review. So if there is a program that doesn't have substantiated numbers for the program, it's through program review that we consolidate, we archive, or that determines whether the program continues, or we update the program to incorporate new standards, to incorporate new industry areas that we can focus on. So like, for example, several years ago, we had computer science and we were teaching programming. Okay, well, that didn't always work. So now we have a computer science program that originates in the high school. Students, when they graduate from the GCC program in the high school, can complete, upon graduation, 19 college credits. They complete the remainder of their 2-year degree at the community college, and it's a +2 to the University of Guam. So we have a UOG computer science track that actually allows students to start the computer science program in the high school. So that program exists, but it took us several years to revamp that program so that we can, bring it up to date, bring up the new methodologies to include we're creating a cybersecurity track as well, because that seems to be where the industry is significantly needing professionals. So it's through program review that we do that. When we have vacancies, so in some cases there are vacancies based on our decreased enrollment, I won't fill the vacancy. It's still funded in here, and it will allow us to surge if we needed to. The vacancy that exists for faculty, if there's a need for us to increase, then we can shift that vacancy to the department that needs the additional faculty member. We do, for a large part, rely on adjunct instructors. And so in this fact book, you'll also see that in 2018, we had 91 adjuncts. And in 2023, now we have 56. And so these are, of course, limited term based on courses that are available. So adjuncts help fulfill the requirements for us to teach post-secondary classes that are not necessarily full-time employees, but people from industry that want to take advantage of teaching a course for us.
Mary, do you see in the future that the enrollment will go further in declining?
I don't think so. I think as we continue to launch different programs that attract students in high school and dovetail that with what we're able to offer at the post-secondary level, it's going to stabilize. It'll eventually stabilize.
Okay. Well, I hope so. There are a lot of great programs that you have. Can you explain to me the Workforce Development Center? What exactly is that? What's going to happen in that building? What's the plans for that building that, having a groundbreaking? What exactly is it going to achieve?
So the Workforce Development Center is going to be, so there will be classrooms that support primarily construction and ship repair. It will have HVAC in there. It will have welding. It will have carpentry, so there'll be segments. What that also allows us to do is phase in renovation and construction at the main campus currently, because, and I'll give you an example. Right now our culinary building is up for renovation, but we didn't stop the culinary program. Basically, the culinary students are located in the Hyatt Regency and at Leo Palace, and so they're taking their instruction there while while the building is being renovated. So we're going to bring them back to campus when that building is complete. Similarly, with the completion of the Workforce Development Center, it will allow us to phase in the renovation for the construction trades building, which is currently building 600 on campus. We are going to be working on the design of that facility soon. And then automotive, that one we haven't figured out where we would transition them to yet. But okay. So we have about three buildings left on campus to renovate.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Every time you come in front of me, I've always brought this subject up. It's about daycare, allowing young mothers, to finish or get a trade. And a lot of them have difficulty because they're single moms out there, and they need daycare facility. Has there been any push toward that? Every year, I know I always ask you, and I don't see or hear anything going on.
There is a proposal that we had, and we can discuss it at a later date, but in the proposal, in the bill that is before, maybe not before the legislature yet, for the college to acquire the public health building, there is a daycare that we had planned to build in the back to support that project.
Well, I hope that you can find another location other than that one in Manila, because
Understood.
I think that, yeah, you understand that situation. So,
Understood.
but it's been years, even before the discussion of the Manila facility, that I brought up this daycare, scenario, and it still has yet to come up. Maybe, Mary, you and I can have to finally sit down and
we just don't have any land mass. We're sitting on 32.75 acres in the Manila campus right now. There may be a possibility of some adjacent land behind the crime lab, but we don't know. I have been in communication with Department of Land Management to help find additional space for us, because we have been requested for, perhaps building another shooting range to support law enforcement, because the current range we have is at capacity, and we can't continue to increase, the usage of that range. And so we're looking for additional land to do that. But right now we just don't have any space on campus or any land that we've been able to purchase. We tried to purchase, the foundation tried to purchase property adjacent to the campus, but the price is extremely high compared to what the appraisal values have been.
understand. How about any grants or programs that you can seek to assist in the cost of daycare for these students, single mothers trying to go to school to learn a profession? Have you looked into any of that funding to assist them?
So if I'm not mistaken, the adult education funding, I believe now can help support that, but I have to clarify that. I think that's a new thing that just came out to help support, but it's specifically for adult education. But I will verify and I will let you know.
And give me a call. I really appreciate that. And every year I always bring that up. And the other one I wanted to ask, by the way, I know I should have segued this into the question I had earlier with regards to enrollment and the decline. Are you seeing a lot of those that have graduated stay on island, or they're leaving? They get a profession, I mean, you're accredited, and then they leave off island for more money. Do you have that in your statistics books?
We don't.
Okay, I think that's
there is a postgraduate survey report that will be coming to the legislature. Basically, the requirement, the reporting requirement that we have is to identify students who completed or graduated from the college 2 years ago and where they are 2 years later, and whether it's in the same occupational area that they got their degree in and what their medium income is, but it doesn't say if they're still on island.
Oh, well, we should
Yeah.
know that, yeah. I know that the University of Guam has programs, or they had in the past, especially for teachers, where their tuition was paid for, and then in exchange, they have to stay on Guam and teach, pay it back by staying here and working here for 3 years. So if there are any, and we're seeing a lot of people leave Guam, for more money, and it's good to know those numbers so that we can think of incentives to keep them here, or provide, paying their tuition and having them work here for 3 years. So can you look into that too as well, Mary? I appreciate that. Pretty much that's all I have. Last question. I've noticed on how you are, there's an increase in salary of about $504,000 compared to last year.
Yeah, a big percentage of that is the guidelines that we got from BBMR regarding the amount for the retirement benefit. It's currently at 29.43%, and it increases to 32.35% for next year.
Okay, so that's mostly out of the benefits then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's a total of 504. Okay, and the other question I have is, on all those buildings, those beautiful buildings that you're erecting, do you have maintenance contracts on all of them?
We have custodial contracts, and we have increased our maintenance staff.
Because I've noticed here on the contractual side, it's an increase of $176,000.
Yeah, that's basically for, so right now we have outsourced custodial services and grounds maintenance.
Well, what about the building itself, the maintenance of the building?
We have staff. We have in-house staff.
In-house staff
and
that
we've
does all
just-
that?
We've just increased the additional staff for maintenance facilities.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much. I'm hoping that lasts for 20 years down the road, the maintenance on these buildings, because we're seeing buildings like you saw what happened in Southern High School, how quickly that deteriorated without any maintenance to it. So we don't want to see that happen to GCC. And I'm sure with you sitting in that seat, it won't happen. So greatly appreciate all your hard work.
Thank
and
you.
very best to you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Teddy. Senator Brown, do you have any questions or comments for the panel? And you'll be followed by Senator Blas.
Half a day, Mr. Chairman. I have to say this is a little more pleasant budget hearing, and I'm glad, I don't know if I'm glad we're having it at the beginning or should we have had it towards the end, because the odds are fairly good, Mr. Chair, as we roll the dice. We're going to have every department come up here and tell us what they can't do because they don't have enough money to do it, and they'd be qualified to run a department with that explanation. But we've not seen that, Mary, all these years that you have been in charge of the Guam Community College. We've seen considerable growth of that college up there, and I appreciate you recognize the challenge of your decreased enrollment. I'm sure you're going to look at what you can do to increase those numbers, but I think the institutions of higher learning nationwide are also facing that challenge. I mean, when we were growing up, the objective was always, if you get to go to college, that's the next best step. And, you spend another 4 to 6 years or maybe longer, depending on what your profession is, that you're striving for in an educational institution before many went out into the workforce. And I think now we're seeing that change. We're seeing a lot of people saying, wait a minute, I don't want to wait 4 or 6 years to be able to go out and earn an income because the need is there to do so. And I appreciate the fact that the Guam Community College is providing that flexibility, and when the need is there in the community, such as the workforce development, the Guam Community College has been able to come up and modify and put plans in place to be able to accommodate whatever that need is for those skill sets. And I just wanted to get some feedback on your programs and your participation in these boot camps that you're setting up, because I think the flexibility that you're providing is very critical and needed, and you're able to adjust to that need, which is shocking because, you're a government-funded operation, and there's so much else in the government that, has an inability to respond to the need when it's there. So can you elaborate on how those programs are coming along and just examples of what type of training you're providing out for those in our community that are in need of these skill sets?
So on the onset, when we started to do the boot camp, the first boot camp we did, which was actually federally funded, was the ship repair boot camp. And how that was, designed was to engage with the employer on the front end of the boot camp so that they can help us develop a program so that individuals who complete the program are provided job opportunities when the program is complete. And we saw that successful model using the federal funds that were available at the time. And we had, I believe the first boot camp we did was ship repair. We had 23 students who started thinking there was going to be some attrition. And all 20 students, I believe, were picked up and recruited the minute they completed the boot camp. And so we've used that model to expand in other areas, to upskill individuals in home health aid, child care, increase the levels in child care. We've done medical code and billing. We're launching and continuing with the support of actually Department of Defense, helping us build the cybersecurity boot camps because they really need more workers. We continue to engage with truck driving. We are working on the environmental technicians because we know that we need to bring a new level and more individuals into the inspection process. So environmental technicians are also on the table. And you know, we've had diesel mechanics. We're now doing furniture installation so they can learn how. We have plumbing, HVAC. We've had truck driving, bus driving. I mean, it's just every industry that is in need of workers. And you know, I was meeting with some folks yesterday, and we understand that with the new mall that's opening up with Don Donkey Village, they're actually recruiting people from the hotel industry. And so now we're going to see a need to increase that as well. So again, it goes back to jobs are available and people are now, I wouldn't say, I mean, it's kind of like when they need individuals, it really is to the benefit of the person looking for a job as to who's going to offer the best benefits and the work schedule and, you know, the flexibility. And so we're seeing, you know, we're in talking with employers, we're seeing that they're looking to really identify more folks for their industry, which is why we're getting repeated requests for additional boot camps, new boot camps coming up as well.
You know, and I appreciate that because, I mean, also during our time, we didn't have that opportunity that the jobs were readily available and waiting for us. We had people that were applying, but, you know, maybe a few got selected. So I like the bridge that you're providing because some people may not have the skill set, may not have the experience, but given the training and the opportunity, of course, if they've showed the initiative, that's the most important thing. If they have an interest in working in a certain field, and you can connect them with the training that will allow them, if they're able to get through the program, a job. That's a wonderful expressway to being able to go out there and earn a living. And we want to see more of that because we are, you know, at one end we are having employers out there that are not able to get employees, and yet our social welfare numbers go up. Mm-hmm. And I hate seeing, you know, capable, healthy adults in this community that can work that do not choose to work because their social welfare benefits are leaving them an opportunity to be comfortable, and yet it's a non-productive existence as far as contributing to your community. We certainly want to see more of that. I do ask, because I almost ask every department, I see you have no funding for drug testing. I don't know which positions you would have at GCC that would be designated positions. But is there any reason you have no funding identified on your budget for that?
We don't do drug testing as a condition of employment for the college. I would say in the 16 years I've been there, we probably had some indication of an employee at one point, but we don't perform drug testing.
Is there any reason for that?
No.
What is the reason? I mean, every other Gov Guam agency, as far as I know, for employees do drug testing as a condition of employment.
Yeah, I would have to go and check to see why.
Is there an exception for GCC? Unless you're running for the Guam legislature, they don't test senators, so you never know what we're on.
Yeah, so it's not something that, it's not something that we had identified for the past several years. It's not something that's required for us. Like I said, in the 16 years, we probably had a reason to drug test one individual, and that person, of course, is no longer there. We did have an employee who we provided support, and eventually that employee came clean and is still with us, but we've not required drug testing for any of our employees.
Well, it'd be good
Certainly
to know,
something
it'd be good
to
to know
look
to
at.
find out, because I'm not aware of any special exceptions in the law for GCC, but it would be good to know. And the only reason I ask is because we have such a major drug problem on Guam. And I think it's important for those of us that are paid for with public resources to ensure we have responsible employees in the government that are working. And especially now, you know, some of my colleagues don't feel that way. They feel we can come to work stoned, and that's perfectly fine. And now we don't want to discriminate against it. And yet, I can't say that for GCC, but I think there are other components in our government where our people out there and our taxpayers are feeling they're not getting the public service that they should from those entities, and I'm sure there are a whole bunch of reasons. I don't have a lot of questions. You know, President Okada, you've done exceptionally well at the Guam Community College. I think there are areas in the government we wish we could replicate the quality of leadership that you provided, not just by saying it, but we've seen the example up there at the Guam community. We've seen the growth of GCC under your leadership, and you know, continue to do the good work you're doing. You've been responsible, you've set the lead, even with regards to ensuring you had clean audits. I mean, for many years you maintained the record of clean audits, succession year after year. And now other government agencies are trying to like, hey, we got clean audits too, when that was not in vogue. And to take that initiative and bring the college towards that, to be able to be flexible, to adjust, to be able to respond when the need is there. Gosh, if you could replicate that in other critical parts of this government, a lot of us wouldn't have much to do up here or question, because we'd actually see the government operating in a way I think many people want to see it operate. So good work to all of you, to your board, and continue to do the good work that you do. It's most appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any further questions or comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Blas? Frank?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Madam President, Madam Vice Chair. You know, one of the great things about being last is most of the questions have already been asked and answered. Okay, so, but yeah, the worst thing about it is that there's sometimes during the questions, they lead to more questions. And then, you know, Dr. Okada, and I have to express that I did have concern with regard to you don't do drug testing, but however, is it safe to say that you do have a drug-free workplace policy?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there is the zero tolerance to that. Okay, so I mean, okay, now I'm a little bit more. You know, I appreciate that right now you've got a lot of new programs, apprenticeships and whatnot, with that address a lot of the build-up type work that exists. And I remember a couple years ago there was a question and there was a query as to whether or not we've engaged with the military with regard to what are those positions that are going to be needed to be filled, not just to build the facility, but to sustain and maintain the facility. Have we ever had that conversation with the military, and is there any kind of collaboration in that effort?
So right now there are two areas that we are working with the military on. One is building the cybersecurity program, and so they're actually providing not just support for the college, but looking at what our equipment needs are so that they can provide some support there as well. And the other area is in the nursing and health occupations that we have. So those are two areas right now that we are working collaboratively with the military. I know that there are many other programs that we need to engage with. Ship repair, I would say, is a direct response to a lot of the military requirements in terms of building out and bringing additional ships here to Guam to help support that component. So indirectly, we're doing it through the Guam shipyard, the Cabras Marine, and now with Pearl Harbor. So those are areas that in the ship repair. But in terms of the other areas, right now we've not had any further discussion about other specific areas.
I appreciate that because, you know, as I'm sure you're very well aware, you and I have had this discussion, again, like I said, a little more than a couple years ago. But at the same time, I've had this kind of discussion with the powers that be that should have been staying on top of this on your behalf and on the behalf of many of the other, you know, UOG and as well as many other institutions to prepare and to try to address, you know, the gaps or the needs to fill the positions for the build-up and afterwards. And you know, I'm not gonna call out the agency or the entity that's supposed to have been doing this, but you know, I don't want to get behind the 8 ball and miss out on a lot of opportunities. I continue to appreciate what you're all doing, but you know, there's right when we get to the apex of this, I'm afraid of what we may see in the backside of this buildup. And are we preparing for this? Okay. And combine that along with, you know, we've got many things going against us. We have an exodus of our population for better jobs. We have now more jobs almost on the way down here. I don't know how many help wanted signs and, you know, buildings that are all businesses that want to open but can't because they can't find employees that still exist. Okay, and then none to your fault. I appreciate that you're training them up, but again, while we're training them up or while they're filling in the positions, how do we fill that gap, or how do we fill in those other positions, you know, that are needed? Let me move on. You know, do you have a collaboration or a discussion with the freely associated states, or or Interior? You know, there's a you know, one of the things that we don't want to see happen as a result of the compacts of free association is an exodus of brain drain, or an exodus of individuals who can maintain services in the freely associated states. And so is there been any discussion or collaboration, or do you have anything in existence that can assist in, first off, the way we try to identify the positions necessary for the military build-up, the positions that may be necessary, that are necessary to be filled in these freely associated states, being, you know, an institution closest to where a lot of these people can go to get training, so they can get their training, get their accreditations, their, you know, their certifications, and go back home and assist in these areas, in these countries.
So I would say yes, and there's a lot of activity happening right now in the region in terms of building up their career and technical education. And as GCC, we've done career and technical education for a very long time. We are in conversation with many of the other college presidents and their K-12 systems to help them build their career tech ed programs. We know there's a substantial amount of money that is being put into the freely associated states to build not just the facilities for career tech ed, but to expand their program. And so we are aware of that. And we've been in conversation with the community colleges there in terms of what support we can provide to them. In addition, we are currently working with Northern Marianas in interpreting courses to Northern Marianas. We also had several visits from NM Tech And they came out and took a look at our cosmetology program and culinary program, and now they have a cosmetology and culinary program out there. We do know, and I have participated at the federal level in terms of what technical assistance might be available to support the needs of the community in the Pacific region. And a couple of areas that were identified was career and technical education and workforce development and work readiness. So we are in conversations regarding that, and there is technical support assistance that is being provided through the comprehensive centers under the U.S. Department of Education. The Pacific Post-Secondary Education Council meets 3 or 4 times a year, and we provide and share some of the challenges that they have in meeting their educational needs for their communities and offer some support. Many years ago, we actually sent a faculty member to the Marshall Islands to help them develop their boot camp, and they're continuing to do that as well.
That's great. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to, because I remember several years ago, there was a scare that existed not just here but throughout the Pacific, Micronesia. There was a casino that was going out and trying to get everybody, and what the scare was they were offering such lucrative, contracts that it was actually taking away, I guess, people from jobs that were needed. And I don't want to see that happen as well, in the future through other endeavors. And so, I know that one of the areas, and it's fastly growing. I mean, he's intelligent, and their services, the government services, as well as the social services that are necessary in a lot of these areas that have been previously underserved, and that it's a great opportunity to be able to collaborate as well, and build and offer many of the programs you have. I tell you what, I share Senator Brown's enthusiasm. You can't pick apart a budget that looks really good, and you just want to hear the exciting things that are going to occur, which leads me to the last question that I have, actually, so that you can get out and go out and finish the rest of the day trying to build a college. What can we expect from GCC over the next fiscal year?
Over the fiscal year 2025,
right?
You're going to see continued expansion of programs based on industry needs. You're going to see increased outreach efforts to increase our enrollment. That is key to all of this. You're going to see GCC engaged and roll out the early college initiative so that students can graduate from high school with a post-secondary education certification or associate's degree. And you're going to see that the college is modernizing its IT infrastructure so that we can be secure in terms of our integrated database and offering opportunities for the community to expand and take advantage of post-secondary education, not just at the high school, but in the post-secondary. So you'll see a lot of the status quo, but a lot of innovation, continued expansion, and support for our community.
Appreciate that, Madam President. Mr. Chair, I'd like for you to take note with this, because the value of making the Guam Community College first is to set the standard and the bar higher for all the other agencies that are going to stand before us. In that, I'd like for people to hear that, and for a copy for your testimony right now to be transcribed so that we can put it in front of agencies to prepare them. Because not only are we going to see exciting growth and continued expansion and doing the job, but you're doing this with a status quo budget. And I know you can do it. I'm confident you can do this because I've seen you do it before. I've seen you do it with less. I don't know how many times, Mary, you and I have talked, and I says, are you sure you want, that's all you want? And I guess my concern is that, okay, you got a lot on your plate, but you're not asking for a whole lot of, food to be able to feed it. And I appreciate that. And so, again, the advantage of you being first is that you got it out of the way. Disadvantage for everybody else is you were first. Okay? And you set the bar, you set that standard.
You can thank the chairman for that.
Well, I can thank the community, the whole community for this, and the chairman. Apparently, the chairman was sending a message to everybody else too. He just used you as the messenger. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Senator Blas. On that note, I don't know if my colleagues and the people of Guam would watch. I think every year in our budget, we try to make sure we got GCC as starts the budget session. And it's great because it speaks for itself. You set the standard, and I'm proud. I'm proud that you do. 16 years, clean audit. When they ask the question, where are you going to be at in a year, where are you going to at in 10 years, just look at the growth. Look at GCC today. Because before it used to be VOTEC, and then I was in the first police academy that started at GCC back in '77, if I'm correct.
Wow. Okay?
And with that, the only thing I was going to ask you was that I'm hoping that GCC is eyeing what's going on at DOE. And when I say eyeing, because when they say they're looking at decommissioning, and they thought about when they decommission a school, they don't want to close the school, they want to keep it running. Maybe that's where GCC can get involved in and says, you know what, you're going to decommission this spot? We like to be considered to take over that campus so you can turn it into whatever program you have. And you can do, your, and we talked about this way back when we were for Simon Sanchez, where you're going to take it over and you have the 4-year high school program and the graduate of an associate degree or a career. Well, whatever campus is available. Because as you're looking for property, I'm not promoting decommissioning at DOE, but I'm just saying if it becomes reality and they're going to decommission, I'm hoping that GCC's got first dibs. It says, give us a shot. And then there's many campuses out there that may be considered, but that's on DOE. That's not something I'm promoting. But I do want to promote and try to figure out how to find you land. And you remember we discussed that many times, and I'm not giving up. There's got to be a way to get you land, because I know I can actually expect that GCC should double its size in the coming years. Whatever the size of your campus today, I can imagine seeing another, Guam Community College #2, per se, where the other industries that you're promoting is built there. 2 separate, colleges for the different roles. But with that, there's no one else to testify. This was an easy budget, so far for the coming year. And I'd like to thank you and everyone for attending this hearing and for providing feedback and suggestions. Thank you, Dr. Okada and Ms. Guino. And with that, the Guam Community College budget hearing is now adjourned. The time now is 10:42. Please have a nice day and be safe. Thank you.